What is up, guys? Welcome back to Golang Ecommerce backend project series. Now in this video, we are working on the add address function, So this function is quite long and it might take me 2 videos to do it. So let's get started. So firstly, what I want to do here is, since I know that it returns a handler func, I'll say return func. C is of type gen.context. All right. Now the next few stages are going to be very similar to this, right? And I've already explained this in the previous 2 videos. So let me just quickly type it out. I won't explain it now very much. I'll just quickly type it out. Okay. So the user ID could be an empty string. If yes. But before that, you want to obviously get the user ID, which will be c.query and ID. Okay. And the user ID will have c.header, content type application JSON. Okay. And you'll have c.json http.status not found, comma gen.h error invalid code c.abort and return. Just as in a nutshell, what's happening here is that you get access to the query of the user ID, using C, which is gen context, which helps you get all the information from a request. Then you want to check if it's empty. If it's empty, then obviously that's a problem, right? But if it is something, you want to do that. You want to basically get the object ID from hex. And this is exactly what we've been doing in the past few videos. We have had to follow this exact same stage. And you want to capture that in a variable called address, and you also want to handle the error. All right. So till here, no issues, everything is similar. Now let's handle this error. If we get an error here, let's handle that also. Error is not equal to nil. C.indented JSON, you'll say internal server and error. Okay. Now what do you really want to do, actually, just thinking out loud, right, before we start writing any code, is that we want to find out how many addresses does this guy have. Because why would I say that, right? Why I'm saying that is because when you look at the user struct, you look at address details. He has a slice of address. That means he has multiple addresses. He could have a home address, he could have an official address, blah blah blah. Okay, so he'll have multiple addresses. Now you obviously want to be aware of how many addresses he already has, and then you want to add a new address, right? So to add a new address, we'll define a variable called addresses. It's of type models.address. Models.address. Okay. So this is your struct address, and it's there in your models package. That's why you want to get access to models.address. So you have addresses. Now what you'll say is, you'll say primitive dot new object ID, and you'll be able to get the address ID for your addresses. Okay. So you created a new object ID for this new address ID that you're creating. Now you'll say c.bind JSON, and you'll pass here addresses, and you're saying if error is equal to, if there's an error here, then you want to say error. That means you're basically trying to find out if there's an error here, so error not equal to nil, and you will say indented JSON. Actually, we don't want to send the 500 error. We want to say http.status not acceptable, and here also we'll write out error dot error. Okay. So now you want to first create the context. So we'll say we are context, comma, cancel is equal to the timeout, basically the same line that we have always been writing for timeout. Let's say 100 into time dot second. Okay. So now you want to create a aggregation query, just like we did earlier in the cart function, to find out the total count of the items, not the items, but the total count or the addition of all the prices of all the items in the cart. You want to do something same here. You want to find out the total addresses here. So we'll start with the match filter. So we'll create a match filter, which will be vson.d, and you have a key here, $match, comma, value is vson.d, primitive.e, basically primitive.e, and you'll have a key out here. The key will be id underscore id and comma, value will be address. Now, just a couple of videos back only, I had explained to you how what are these stages, right? Match is a stage. So you was taking, basically you were just matching the address, which is matching the values for that address, right? First, let's find that. Then we'll unwind. We'll say unwind exact same order of stages that we had followed in the cart function, right? When we're doing the get item from cart function, exact same stages: filter, unwind, and group. So for unwind, you'll have vson.d, you'll have key and $unwind, comma, value vson.d, and here you'll say primitive.e. And now the key that you'll pass here to a unwind function is path, and the value that you usually will pass is address. Now, like I said, there could be multiple addresses there. Even when you matched for that particular address, okay, which is basically your user ID. When you match for that user ID, there will be multiple addresses that the user will have. So that address will be a array, and you want to unwind that to be able to run any operation on it. The operation that you want to run on it is basically your group operation. So you'll say group is equal to vson.d, key is your $group, comma, value is vson.d, primitive key, and here you'll have underscore id, comma, value will be $address underscore id. Okay, so using the address id, you want to group them, basically nothing else. And then here you'll have another key, which is going to be called count, because you need to find out how many addresses does this guy have right now before you go ahead and add anything. So you'll say count, comma, you'll say value, you'll say vson.d, and primitive.e will have key. The key is $sum that I showed you is a aggregation function, comma, value is 1. Actually, the double quotes end here, and here ends here, sorry. So when you said $sum value 1, basically is going to find out the count of all the addresses based by using address ID. Okay, so all the counts will be found. All right. And now you want to run this aggregation function, obviously. So you'll say point cursor, just like we did earlier, comma error. Let's say user collection dot aggregate. To run this aggregate function, we'll obviously pass this context. You'll pass these 3 stages in the pipeline. So you'll say cdx comma mongo dot pipeline, and the curly braces you'll pass your match filter, your unwind, and your group. So you'll say unwind stage and the group stage all have been passed. Make sure the brackets look okay, and here you'll just handle the error as well. So if error is not equal to nil, c dot indented JSON parent comma internal server. Okay. Now we're kind of getting there, but there's a lot more to be done in this function. So I don't want to overwhelm you guys right now, and because I'm anyways uploading videos almost every single day. So in tomorrow's video, we'll just complete this function. And for now, I just want to keep it here. So this is your add address function going on right now. We have built our aggregation query, and we've also done our aggregation query, and we've also handled the error that comes while running our aggregation query. So far so good. Everything looks all right to me. Do subscribe to this channel if you're enjoying the series. I'm sure you're learning a lot, and there's so much more value to be had on this channel because I keep putting out awesome content. So do share with your friends as well, because if somebody's learning Golang, this is possibly the best place, because we have more than hundreds of videos on Golang, and there's many projects also that you can check out in the playlist. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.